sound check, but I didn't even do one. Steal that from the back. We're going to start today a study that I will, oh, I'm not supposed to do that, so I will discontinue doing that and have the tape back up. We're going to start a study today in John. So if you go to the New Testament, you go Matthew, Mark, Luke, and then John. We're going to start a study. We're going to study through John. I'll warn you, it's probably going to take, I don't know, 6 months or so to work our way through John, since I don't. Now, if you want to come over to the house, we could knock it out in a week if you just got to give me 4 or 5 hours a day, but I'm not guessing you're going to do that, so we'll have to go through it a little bit longer time than that. So we're going to start in John 1:1 to kind of set the table for you. The introductory chapter, or the introductory part of John, is often called the prologue. It's actually, a lot of people believe that John took an early hymn that believers would sing, and he adopted it into Scripture. He adopted, because it was basically a hymn of what they believed about Christ and who he was. And so he took it and he adopted it and kind of added some parts. We're going to see that he added a lot about John the Baptist, and so those are the parts that he added in. So let's go ahead and read it, and then we'll start talking about it. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision, nor of husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John does testify concerning him. He cried out, saying, "This is the one I spoke about when I said, he who comes after me has surpassed me, because he was before me." Out of his fullness we have received grace in place of grace already given. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. So John was writing to two types of people. He was writing to Jews, obviously, who were, God's chosen people in the Old Testament, and they were supposed to be displaying to everybody else who God was. They had done a fairly poor job of it and got themselves in trouble. And what God had told the Jewish people is, he told them, look, I'm going to be moving again. And this was hundreds of years before Christ. He tells them, look, you're being punished for idol worship. You're being punished for an uncaring attitude towards other people. You're being punished for not following me and not showing me to everyone. But there's going to come a day when I'm going to do something. There's going to come a day when I'm going to move in your midst again, and something incredible is going to happen, and I'm going to restore you to me permanently. And so you have in the Jewish world, you have people that should be waiting for that to happen. They should be waiting for God to move, because historically throughout their lives, they've seen God move time and time again. These are the people that they experienced being delivered from Egypt by God parting the Red Sea and making it like dry ground. Now, I don't know about you guys, but have you ever been to a lake where the water has gone down? Right? And so the edges, is it like dry ground? No, right? You go stepping in it and you sink and you lose a tennis shoe. That's happened to me before. And you can't even see it because like the shoe's gone and it covers up and it's never to be seen again. Then you get in trouble with your parents. It's a whole thing. But this is a God who does just big miracles. He parts the Red Sea, it's like dry ground. He delivered them out of Egypt. They're following them out of Egypt, and he's a pillar of flame going before them. He's feeding them from heaven. He's providing water where there is no water. They're in the desert. And so they're a historical people where God has done time and time again these big things, and he tells them, one more time, I'm going to move, and this time it's going to be permanent. This time it's going to have an impact on all nations, and that's what they're supposed to be waiting for, is for this movement of God. Instead, we find the Jewish people very wrapped up in making sure they follow rules and making sure outwardly they look like what God told them to look like. But they weren't really following God. They weren't really worshiping God. They weren't chasing after God. They weren't even displaying God to other people. They were just really wrapped up in making sure my life looks exactly like it's supposed to. On the flip side, you had the Greek-influenced world of Rome, right? And Greek thought was in abundance. And so in the Greek world, you had this philosophy that logic was the ultimate in everything. That knowledge and logic. And the Greeks were looking for, what is ultimate logic? Where did the basis for truth come from? And they were trying to figure out, well, where is truth? So I kind of look at John and I think, we have much the same situation today. We have, in the church world, we have, I think, a church that's forgotten the God of miracles and the God who moves and the God who acts. And this powerful, living God who His Holy Spirit is present amongst us. He's working through us. And I think the church has largely forgotten that God. And then on the other hand, we've been through the scientific age. We know that E equals MC squared. I use that a lot because it's one of the few physics things I remember. But we know these things, right? I mean, we can make an airplane fly. It's crazy. I don't know how an airplane managed to fly. Eric could explain it to us, but it's crazy to me because it's big, and I know I don't fly. If I jump off a roof, I weigh a lot. I'm going to hit the ground, and a lot of people agree that, well, I'm going to get hurt. Anybody below me is going to get hurt real bad. But yet, we know how to make these things happen. And so we have a very scientific mind, and we spend a lot of time trying to figure out, well, where does this all come from, right? And there's a lot of answers to that question. We talk about a Big Bang that happened at one point. But the problem with all the answers that we've come up with is that, well, what drove that? It's always that, what is the ultimate cause, right? Because no matter how far you go back, there's still that question. Out of nothingness came something. Had to have happened. Something had to be pre-existent and pre-eternal. Something had to be there in the beginning. I was watching a movie. Now it was Christian slanted, right? But they were talking to some guys, and their whole thing was, well, it was a crystal was there in the beginning. It was like, well, where did the crystal come from? Or even in the Big Bang Theory, there was a Big Bang and their world was created. Okay, what caused the Big Bang? This is questions that are fundamentally you have to ask, and this is what the Greek world was trying to figure this out. I mean, they were actually pretty far advanced in logic. I mean, we still use a lot of logic and rhetoric that the Greeks came up with, we still use today. And these are the questions they were seeking to ask themselves. And John comes right in and starts to answer these questions for both the Jews. He's trying to explain why it is that Jesus is this incredible act of God that they've been waiting on. And he's trying to show Greeks why Jesus was the ultimate truth, why he is the Logos, why he is the Word, right? Because when it said Jesus was the Word, that's Greek for logos or logos. Logic is where we get our word logic from that. He's the ultimate truth. And so he's trying to present an argument to both sides of who Jesus is and why. So he starts out with simply, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, who was with God in the beginning. So he introduces to the Greek-speaking world the concept that God was in the beginning, right? He harkens back to Genesis 1:1. This verse is a direct reflection of that. And he's saying, hey, when you think about what was ultimately started, what was the ultimate cause? What was the first mover? He's saying it was God. God claims for himself when Moses asked God, who should I tell people you are? He said, tell them the I am sent you. Or he says, I am that I am. And what God is claiming for himself is that I am the only one who's self-sufficient all unto myself. I've always been here, I'll always be. Everything is supported by me. And God is claiming to be that ultimate cause of the universe and that ultimate cause of us being here. And so that's what John's presenting to the Greeks, is that God was in the beginning. And then he's saying, not only was God in the beginning, but Jesus, the Word, was with God. Now, this is truly important to the Jewish people because one of the problems they had in their history was idol worship. They got in big trouble because they would continually worship idols, and the Bible kept talking to them, or the prophets would talk to them and say, hey, why would you worship things that you made with your own hands? That's emptiness. Why would you possibly worship things made with your own hands? And so they got in a lot of trouble for that. And that's ultimately kind of one of the things they were scared and worried about ever doing again. They kind of really cut that out of their culture. So here's Jesus coming along claiming to be God. And they were having a tough time with this because, like, look, we got the smackdown last time we said something else was God, and we're not going there again. And so John is showing them, look, Jesus was with God. Jesus was part of God. Jesus is God. This is the whole idea of the Trinity comes into play here. He's like, Jesus was ultimately always with God in the beginning. So you're not worshiping